My high school job was actually working in the public library, our local public library, in the children's section. And I loved it because kids would come and I could match kids to a book I thought they would enjoy. I could read with them. And I just kind of, in my mind, thought, how cool would that be to someday write a book that could be on one of those shelves? I taught for 25 years at the elementary level, but while I was teaching, I was writing and eventually got to a point where it was really hard to do that role as a teacher and as a writer at the same time. And I finally got to where I thought, you know what? I did that first half of my dream to being a teacher, and now it was time for the next half to pursue that children's writing full time. It was probably the hardest decision I've ever had to make. I teetered back and forth on what to do. I prayed about it, and I finally just decided, I'll do a sabbatical leave. That way I have a safety net, I'll just do 1 year and try it out, and if it doesn't work out, I can go back in. This was in 2020, in January, and I started getting all of these things ready. I was booking events and author visits and making sure that my year was packed full and I got the full experience of trying to be an author. So in March, you know what happened? And I slowly started getting all of these emails of cancellation after cancellation. And I remember going the end of March. By this time, we had all been kicked out of school, so I was teaching virtually from my home to my students. And I went to my principal and I said, instead of next year, could I maybe wait a year for that sabbatical? And he was like, we just approved your replacement. So I was like, okay, I'm really doing this. But you know what? After the end of that year, I had to give the decision, are you coming back or are you going for it? And I thought, you know what? If I can make it through that whole year during a pandemic, then maybe I can do this. And I decided to go for it. My first book was I Am Not a Pirate, and it was about my daughter who had to wear an eye patch for 3 years. And she didn't like it when people would say, oh, look at the little pirate. So it was something that I wrote to just kind of show how Maddie got through that with a sense of humor, but also to help other kids who may, feel different or have that same situation or see someone with an eye patch and think, why are they wearing that eye patch? So it kind of explained all of that. When my oldest daughter, Emily, was in high school, she drew this little bird, and I just thought he was adorable, this fuzzy, colorful little guy riding a scooter. And I got this idea that I was going to write this story about this little bird named Scooter. And I wrote it about not only the message being, that it's the size of our heart, not the size of our wings that matter. When I'm teaching kindness with my students in my classroom, I would always talk to them about how our words are so important. How we say them and what we say matters. And our words can help someone or they can hurt someone. The very first conference that I went to, I took the story with me called I Love Strawberries. It's about a girl named Jolie, and she is determined to have her own strawberry patch. And a lot of those conferences have a contest that you can enter. In the children's category, I Love Strawberries got first place. And so I was very excited and encouraged, and I kept trying to send it to publishers, and no one was saying yes to it. And it just so happens that book just came out in April. So I finally found a home for it all these years later. When I was in 5th grade, it was the first time that my school ever had an author visit, and it made a big impact on me because we had a school-wide writing contest leading up to her visit. And so we were all gathered on the gym floor, and I remember seeing her walk up there, and she was holding the book I wrote for the writing contest, and she was holding her book, Can't Catch Me on the Gingerbread Man. It's Jamie Gilson. And she called my name, and she handed me back my book and said I had won, and she gave me an autographed copy of her book. And I saved this, and that was in 5th grade. It made an impression. It was one of the first seeds that were planted that made me think about my writing being for someone else to enjoy. For me, the most meaningful thing is going to an author visit and having a kid say something about, I love this book, or having a parent or a teacher say, they made us read this over and over and over, or or they send you a letter, that tells why, they resonated with a certain character. Those are the things that really make you feel good and that you're doing something, producing something in the world that means something to someone.